Professor Aharon Ciechanover. It's a pleasure and honor to have you among us, although online, not in person, but we'll save this for the next year when you will be in person. And it is my honor to introduce you to the audience, an audience with so many so many fields of science. They are brought together having as a spine sustainability.
Hello, everybody. What I would like to share with you today, as we are out of the pandemic, are some thoughts about the bioethical issues that are related to the pandemic. We are thinking of the pandemic only as sick people that need to be either treated in the hospitals or at home, and we are thinking about vaccination. But we don't give a thought to some other aspect of the disease, which are extremely, extremely important. So let me talk to you about those aspects and try to highlight them. So there are several of them, and I'll talk about each of them separately. One of them is treatment priorities, the other one is neglected subjects, the other one is vaccination hesitancy, people that refuse to get vaccinated. The fourth one will be about the infodemic, the misinformation spread by people, spread by the social networks, and the last one will be about inequality and discrimination. So let me start with the first one, the treatment priorities. As you know, when there is a mass casualty or many people, and these people need intensive care unit, they need to be put on respirators, this becomes a very complicated issue because respirators are not only machines. Respirators are also professional teams. We need physicians, we need nurses, we need respiratory experts, and typically those are not available for a lot of casualties. I remember very well in the state of Israel, my country, during the first and second wave, we were almost there. And then comes the question, whom to put on the respirator and whom not. Basically, we have to decide who is going to live, to possibly live, and who is going for sure to die. The problem was not only here, the problem was actually practical in Italy, in North Italy and Milan. It was very relevant in the East Coast of the United States, in New York, and all what I'm going to talk today with you will be from the science, from the official press, and you will see how these issues came up in many countries. So here, for example, this was taken from the Journal of Science, and it says Italian doctors on coronavirus frontline, this was in Milan, face tough calls on whom to save. So in my country, unfortunately, we did not get there, but we were just on the verge. The hospitals were full, all the intensive care units were full, and we need to do something about it. So how do you do? What do you do? How you make a decision? You cannot leave the decision to the doctor or to the nurse or to the family. So the country appointed a committee, a very complex committee that made of clergymen, of religious people that represent the religious establishment, of judges, of social workers, of psychologists, of representative of the public, and they made what we call a score. The score is a set of numbers that in order for the patient to be put on the respirator, the patient has to be above the number. And what is the number? The number doesn't contain age. We are not supposed to discriminate people on the base of age. The numbers are whether the patient has a disease, whether he has or she one disease or several diseases, and what type of diseases. Are these terminal diseases, like brain cancer, for example, in which they have only few weeks or few months to live? Is it congestive heart failure, terminal congestive heart failure, or it's a disease that can last for many years, like diabetes, that is well balanced and treated? It has to do with the family. what is the state of the family, whether the patient, after getting off the respirator, can go back home, whether he has a supportive environment, and so on. Whether the patient is handicapped, to which extent he is handicapped, whether he needs, whether he is on wheelchair or not on wheelchair, and so on and so forth. There was a whole set of numbers, and according to which patients were scored, and if the patient was above the score, he was eligible to be put on the respirator. If not, then unfortunately not. Luckily, very luckily, at least in Israel, we did not get to the point where we had to really activate this score system. Because however we look at it, and however right it is being looked at, it's nevertheless a decision of death or life. So there is a group of people, they are not judges, they are not representing the law, they decided who is going to live and who is going to die. This is something that is, in any advanced society is unacceptable, but nevertheless, reality dictates something that we are not used to. I never thought in my life, I'm a physician myself, that somebody will have to decide about my life, except if I'm raping or murdering or do some awful criminal. All what happened to me, that I became sick. So I don't get the appropriate treatment just because I got sick and because I have some other disease, but somebody else need the respirator ahead of me. So we should all admit that this is a very, very complicated decision. The other issue is neglected subjects. What are neglected subjects? During the time of Corona, during the height of the pandemic, hospitals were closed. They were open only for Corona patients. In our hospital, I am a faculty member in a medical school. We have a nearby hospital of more than 1,000 beds that contain all kinds of departments: cardiology, heart diseases, oncology, cancer, gynecology, all kinds of departments. We basically closed 95% of them. We left only a margin for very urgent cases. And you can imagine, however priority you give to people, that other people are neglected. So patients don't get the right treatment. A treatment of cancer patient is postponed. Either it's irradiation or surgery or heart catheterization. Patients have to stand in line much longer than typical. So you can argue, and I think that the argument is correct, that by making a decision that Corona pandemic takes priority, other diseases become inferior in priority. And you also can imagine that the disease of other people is aggravated. Some may even pay with their lives. Some may even pay with their lives. So, who told us to do it? Who has the permission to decide that one disease is more important than the other disease? Nobody. I tell you who decided. The panic of the public. This was the decision making. There was such a pressure. The pandemic so occupied the lives of everybody. People were afraid. We were under lockdown. People were afraid of one another. People went with masks. People were locked at home. There was shortage of food. Children didn't go to school. So you can imagine that it was the public pressure that determined the policy making process by the leaders. Now think about children that don't go to school. How can we assess the damage? Can you take a child that is 6 years old and he has to go to school in order to learn how to read and how to write? And in some countries there was a lockdown of 1 year and maybe even longer than 1 year. Can we assess the damage? Maybe it would be better that the child will get the disease but nevertheless go to school and learn than waiting for 2 years to the age of 8 in order to start teaching him. How can we assess the long-term damage? Who decided even about lockdown? Of course, there is some reasonable thinking behind the lockdown that people will not spread the disease. But the disease may be, in many cases, especially in areas of young population, much less dangerous than the damage that the measures to prevent the disease is doing. So another type of decision of lock the kids home without being exposed to their friends, without going to school, without studying. So the issue of neglected subjects became very severe. So think about this cartoon that shows you that people are looking at the news with masks about the news about COVID-19, and climate change that is still going on is threatened to drown them. So yes, we didn't treat climate change, and climate change is not an issue for the next decade. It's an issue immediate. It's already there. Think about the temperature in Pakistan this summer. Think about the floods that are in many countries. Climate change is already here and in a big way, but we stopped handling it. We don't do anything. Why? Because we are dealing with COVID. Think about the damage that was caused. So again, there was no decision by any government, by any leader. It was the pressure of the public, the panic that determined it. Think about diseases in Africa. Look at the right side. AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis are surging. Other diseases that were taken care by, like AIDS, like malaria, like tuberculosis, all infectious diseases, started to come up. And I can tell you, people are dying of it. People can die from AIDS if not treated. People are dying from malaria. People are dying from tuberculosis. So we said, okay, we shall save one patient with COVID, but on the other hand, we shall kill another patient with malaria. Again, how we make such a decision. Now, another issue is, of course, that the pandemic delayed research. You know, laboratories were closed. The pandemic here is coming from the Institute of Cancer Research, from the ICR in the UK. The pandemic delayed cancer advances by 18 months. Can you imagine that by 18 months, new drugs to cancers are coming? And those drugs are being delayed from coming to the market by 18 months. So, can you imagine that a better drug that could be on the market today will come only in a year and a half? Can you imagine how many lives this just delay, just this postponement may take? So, again, it's a bioethical issue. It has nothing to do with technology. It has to do with priorities that society is putting without thinking about the consequences. Now, let's talk about the other issue, which is very severe, and that's vaccination, about the refusal to get vaccination, the skepticism, the misinformation, the availability and affordability. We know that many people refuse to take vaccination, and this is a very important issue, because if they refuse to take vaccine, it means that they can get sick and endanger all their environment. So the question is whether the country, any country, can have the force in order to enforce them. Or if they are refusing, we don't have to do anything to them but to tell them not to go out of home. You know, you cannot endanger. It's like driving drunken. Think that you are driving alcohol. The society has the force to tell you you cannot drive. And if you are driving under the influence of alcohol, we shall put you in prison because you are a danger to your surrounding. Non-vaccinated people are danger to their surrounding. Now, what do we do about it? Can we force them? Cannot we force them? Should we listen to them? Why they refuse? They have their own reasons. Maybe the reasons are irrational, but nevertheless, they have their own reasons. So let me dissect this issue in a little bit more detail. Part of, let's just, give a look at what's going on. These are demonstrations in the United States. Look at the right side, no vaccine. Trust in God, the lower right side, not vaccines. God will save us, not the vaccines. Look at this one on the upper right side. This is a planned global power grab. The messenger RNA vaccine, so the vaccine, will kill millions more than COVID-19. So the vaccine is even more dangerous than the disease itself. So cure on the lower left side, cure is worse than the virus. What society made in order to cure the disease and to prevent the disease is much worse than the virus itself. Or people don't believe that there is a pandemic at all. Look at the upper left side, what the guy has on the mask. It said COVID-19 is a hoax. It's all a lie. There is nothing like that. It doesn't exist. So people are making up things that are endangering the whole society. So in order to tell these people, hey guys, you are stupid, leave us alone, we shall punish you, we need to understand why they are doing it. What is the reason that people are resisting a treatment? And part of it has to do with the medical community itself. So I'll bring you one example, just one, but there are several. A doctor in England, Andrew Wakefield, he is a pediatrician, a doctor of children, published a paper in The Lancet, which is a very well-reputable medical journal, saying that the vaccination against MMR, against measles, mumps, and rubella, causes autism. So once the mother will take the child in order to immunize him or her, she's undertaking a big risk that the newborn child, the young child, is going to get autism. Wow. This frightened woman in a big way, and they stopped vaccinating the children. It started in the UK, but it spread all over the world in a big way. And I just want to tell you that measles can be deadly. So if we are not vaccinated, children, especially children with some problems in the immune system, can die from the disease. And the other diseases are also not funny. Therefore, we have very efficient vaccination. And immediately, children started to get sick. Many children died. And it turned out that the whole thing was a lie. We don't still understand why Wakefield did it. He didn't have any scientific data to support the hypothesis that the vaccination causes autism. And meanwhile, the medical society started to invest billions of dollars and many years in order to refute it, to prove that he was completely wrong. It took many years, and you see here a whole collection of papers saying, let's start from the upper left side. Vaccines do not cause autism. There is no link between vaccine and autism. These are all scientific papers. Vaccine ingredients, the ingredients in which the vaccine is embedded in the bottle, in the little vial, do not cause autism. Lack of association, I'm in the middle now. Lack of association between measles, mumps, rubella vaccination and autism, and so on and so forth. See how many studies that really cost billions of dollars and years, but meanwhile, children are not getting vaccinated and getting sick and dying and hospitalized in hospitals, how much time and money is wasted in order to prove that this lying doctor was wrong. It took almost 10 years to convince the society that the whole thing was one big lie that came in the mind of one doctor. That the whole story. And after 10 years, another book came out and another paper came out about the doctor who fooled the world. The doctor who lied to the whole world. And the book is about science, deception, and the war on vaccine. The guy was simply against vaccine, and he had a target. Something very similar happened in Japan. I don't want to go into it. It's a vaccination against cancer of the uterus, of the uterine cervix. Again, there was somebody from the medical community published that this vaccination against human papillomavirus, the virus that causes the cancer, is leading to movement disorders, so people cannot walk straight and walk stable. Women stopped vaccinating their daughters, and during the time that there was a fight, whether it's right or wrong, of course it was wrong, 25,000 Japanese women got cervical cancer, and I can tell you that 6,000 of them are already in the cemetery. They are not with us, and many more will join. And during the time that the vaccination was not taken by the woman, and now it's back again, and the disaster is already there. So it's amazing to think about it. Think about death penalty. When somebody murders somebody, one person, in the United States at least, not in the UK, not in the other, but in other countries, you are killing the murderer. You are sentencing the murderer to death. So for killing one person, which is a lot, it's life of one person. But if somebody kills thousands and thousands of persons, he's free. Why? Because it's under science. He published something. He didn't kill them with a revolver. He didn't shoot them. He didn't stab them with a knife. But nevertheless, he killed them, which shows you that words are better killers than even a rifle or a revolver, so, or a pistol. So both Dr. Wakefield and the physicians in Japan killed thousands of children, thousands of women, and they are free to go. Nothing to do about them. So this just shows you how our society is being run. But let's go to another issue of the refusal to get vaccination. And the other issue is, who are the people that refuse to get vaccination? And they are typically the underprivileged and the discriminated in the society. If you are poor and you are discriminated because of your color or because of any other reason that is irrelevant, you don't trust the government. Because the government, if you are poor, you don't get education, your environment is dirty, the children don't get education, you don't get medical aid, basically you don't trust the government. And if you don't trust the government and the government tell you to be vaccinated, then you don't want to be vaccinated just because the government told you to be vaccinated. So let's look at a poll that was made in the United States before the vaccine came out. And the poll asks a very simple question. Once there be a vaccine, are you going to take it? Maybe you are not going to take it, so you're not sure, or you don't want to take it. You decided already that if there will be a vaccine, you are not going to take it. So let's look at how this questionnaire is being split between the different ethnic groups in the United States. And I don't want to go to all the data. Let's look just at the black people. The one line before the last one. Only 25% of the people said yes. 25%. 32% say we don't know, and 40% said no, I don't going to take it. Now look at the average, at the overall, just the overall, everybody in. Twice as much, 49%, that's the upper line, said yes, we are going to take it. 31 said no, said not sure, and 20% said no. But if you look at white people, look at the white people. Look just at between the black and white, 3 lines above the bottom. 56, more than double than the black said yes. 27 said not sure, and only 16% said no, versus 40% of the black. Why? Because the white people somehow are more privileged in the United States than the other groups, than the black, which are still discriminated mostly in the southern states of the United States. Now, I want to bring you to narrow it down and to give you a very good example. Not to say, okay, the black people are discriminated, they are poor, they are living in shanty towns. Let's go to one experiment that was done on black people by white doctors. And this is called the Tuskegee Experiment. Now, Tuskegee is a small town in the southern part of the United States. Now, at the time, in the 30s, syphilis, which is a sexually transmitted disease, was very common in the United States. And the physicians, and there is a treatment. At that time, even before the antibiotic, you could treat syphilis with arsenite, with some other antibacterial drugs, not antibiotics, antibacterial drugs. And initially it's a light disease. There is only some kind of an ulcer on the genital organs, and if the patient gets it, you treat it and it goes. But if you don't treat it, it becomes very severe. It crawls along the nerves, it gets to the brain, it causes dementia, so people are becoming like in Alzheimer's disease, and then people die. They are dying of neurological disease. So physicians, white physicians in the United States, decided that they are not going to treat the black people. Why they are not going to treat them? because they want to follow the natural course of the disease. So you have a treatment for the disease, but you decide not to treat the patient because of your curiosity. You want to see the development of the disease gradually, the natural course of the disease. So what do you do if the patient has the disease? You tell him that you treat him, but you don't treat him. So you see on the right lower side, you see a white doctor injects treatment, but the treatment is water, nothing, air, zero, to a black person that has the disease. So he tells the black person that he treats him, but he does not treat him. So they follow the disease. They did the experiment on 400 patients, 400 syphilis that could be cured. 200 of them died. So basically the doctors killed 200 black people, and the situation of the other 200 get worse. The experiment was done between 1932 and 1972. You see the New York Times paper that's saying to you the syphilis victim in the United States study went untreated for 40 years. You are a doctor. You swore that you are going to treat anybody with no money, with no obligation, with no discrimination, with nothing. This is our oath as physicians, to take care of patients regardless of any other consideration. And nevertheless, these physicians betrayed their oath when they graduated and saw patients in their eyes and knew that they are sick and refused to treat them just because of some type of curiosity. So no wonder that the black population not only does not trust the government, but hates the government. So they refuse to do it. So you see that the medical community also contributes to the public. You know, when you are doing something that has to go to all the community, to the entire community, you need to build trust. It's a contract. You know, we are signing a contract of trust, that you trust me and I trust you. You trust me that I'm telling you that to be vaccinated is important and the vaccine is safe. So, and I trust you in the sense that I don't betray you. So it's a mutual contract. But once one side violates the contract, the other side violates it as well. So we have to understand the social umbrella of what's going on. And needless to say, you know what, the black population in the United States, and this is the result. Then there is an issue of supply of vaccines to different countries. Israel is a rich country. We had supply to everybody, but Africa, countries are more poor. So the question is, are we responsible for all the African countries? So we said, they have no money. It's their problem. It's not my problem. Or is there some international responsibility? And even within one country, who is going to get first if there is shortage of vaccines? The young people that might have long life ahead of them, or the old people that they don't have so much life, so many years to live, and they might be sick. So again comes the issue of a moral issue of priority, and so on and so forth. Let's because time is becoming short, let's talk about the other issue, which is infodemic. And this is the disservice of the social networks, and also leaders did. Twitter, Facebook, they say we have freedom of speech. Everybody can say whatever they want. Well, once it causes public damage, I think that the freedom of speech is less important than the health and the safety and the security of the public. But the social networks didn't think like that. And now we're seeing it even worse, because these days Elon Musk bought Twitter, and he says that he's an absolutist for freedom of speech. And many academics and many people that don't agree with him leave Twitter and go to Mastodon and to other social networks. So the question is whether in the freedom of speech we can sacrifice the safety and the security of the population. I'll bring you just two examples. One was the President of the United States, President Trump, that just announced that he's going to rerun again in 2024 to become the President of the United States. And he dismissed his expert, Tony Fauci, a superb doctor who is a world expert, renowned world expert on infectious diseases, and he said, no, no. He was his advisor and started to promote different drugs that do not help at all or even are harmful to corona. Hydroxychloroquine. Trump says he still thinks hydroxychloroquine works in treating early stage coronavirus. Who is Trump? He's a doctor, he's a pharmacologist. What does he know about medicine? And then he advertised Clorox, that we are cleaning the toilets in our home to be injected in order to kill the virus. He was confused a little bit because Clorox is good to kill the virus if you are wiping your table with it, but not if you are injecting it into your veins. So, and the social network said, yes, hydroxychloroquine. And then people demanded hydroxychloroquine. Why? Because the President of the United States said that it is good. And Madonna, that is admired by many people, said that, it's all plot by the rich people, that Bill Gates has already the vaccination, but the vaccination is for his friends. And he doesn't want to give it to the general public because he keeps it for himself. So again, type of a misinformation that was very damaging to the society, and I don't want to allude on that, but I think that the social networks should be much more responsible in what they say and much more careful because, again, it costs life. It does cost life. So let's go to the last one before we close on, and that's inequality and discrimination. We know that when people are stressed, racism jumps up, gender issue, discrimination of women, discrimination of... We are living, we think that we are free people, liberal, and so on, but once there is a little stress, our bad nature is erupting. Let me just remind you, the cruel murder of the black person in Minnesota, which is largely a very white state in the United States, by the policeman, the white policeman, Chauvin, that was sitting with his knee on the veins, on the arteries, on the oxygen supply to the brain of this black person, and the black person was crying to his mother to save him. No, he didn't live off. He didn't lift his knee. He killed him cruelly and intentionally. This, of course, raised a lot of issues in the United States, and there is a big movement, Black Lives Matter, that the life of black people also matters. These people are not rabbits, they are not cats, that also should not be killed. They are not animals, they are people. But it still continues. And amazingly, also in the world of science, there is a discrimination. And you can see here, science has a racism problem. So even in science, we scientists believe that we are liberal, that we don't care about anything, who you are, what religion you are, whether you are Jew, Christian, Muslim, whether you are a man or a woman, whether you are fat or thin. No, we do care, apparently. It's underneath the table. We don't admit it, but we are discriminating. And you see here on the right side, white senior academics, white, still resist. We refuse to resist racism. So you see that, once something happens, a war, some tension in society, all the bad feelings are coming up. Remember the depression in the late 1920s and how the Nazis in Germany came to power. They said that the Jews are to be blamed for the depression, and a big movement against the Jews came up that ended up with cruel murdering of 6 million Jews and many others in concentration camps in Auschwitz, Treblinka, and so on and so forth. We are a very fragile society. We don't have any bond that keeps us together as a society. And little tension, and bang, we are blowing. So time has come to an end. I wanted to tell you that the pandemic is not only about a disease with fever and lung problems. The pandemic is also about other issues for us as a society, and we should be really very careful about it and pay deep attention, because at the end of the day, the pandemic will pass. We shall overcome it, but we shall continue to exist as a society. But if the society doesn't hold together, then even after the pandemic, these problems will persist. They will leave a footstep deep in our lives. and we should very carefully remember it and take step to prevent it. So I wish you all the best in this very exciting meeting and hope to make it myself physically in the next time. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor. It has been an enlightening presentation with things that we discuss every day. And this is a very important aspect of coronavirus that not too many people see this way. But this is an important dimension of coronavirus, actually, in any of the viruses and pandemic around the world. So um, we are. We are fortunate to have this presentation from you, and we hope to have you physically next year uh, during SIPS 2023.